What is social morality? The concept of morality means the life of a community with a particular order. According to Hegel's philosophy of law, the principle of the ordering of communal life is a unity of generality and particularity. Abstract law only shows universality. That is why it goes down in crime, with which the particularity opposes the generality. Morality knows only the principle of the particularity, but it perishes in doing evil. By opposing the universal good, it also destroys the foundation of its own being, in the attempt to maintain its essential particularity. The principle of the common life is the unity of universality and particularity. That is not an ideal to be pursued. In modern society, this unity has always been established. It is reality. That is why Hegel can speak of the idea of freedom. With the word idea he indicates the unity of concept and reality. The concept has become real, and the reality is understood. The concepts of law and good are now a living reality. Good as an abstract requirement in morality has now become the real order of communal life. What is universal in social morality? The subjective and the objective viewpoint. This objective ordering of communal life cannot be regarded as a pure universality. Social life has reality only in and through the self-consciousness of individuals. Morality is an arrangement, an ordering of communal life that transcends the individual. The reality of social life is not defined within an individual perspective. But it is individuals who jointly carry and determine this social order. There is a unity of the objective order, universality, and the subjective will, particularity. If we think about the meaning of our social reality, of the organization and reality of communal life, we will have to look at both the subjective and the objective point of view. The objective point of view implies that we see morality as a whole of institutions, laws, norms and values that are valid within a given community. Individual life is determined by this objective reality. The moral order is absolute to the individual and a duty to the subject. Coincidental opinions and arbitrariness do not rule here. Regardless of the subjective opinion, the good here acquires an objective reality, thus becomes substance in Hegel's terminology. Individuals are only an outgrowth or a further definition of this substance. The subjective point of view implies that the social substance is also subjective. The subjective consciousness of individuals carries the moral powers. The institutions and norms and values that apply in the social order are something in and of the individuals themselves. The universality of the objective social order and the particularity of the individual subjects are in a dialectical relationship. That is to say that each, the objective and the subjective, is in some way the whole relationship. The subject is itself within the objective is only real within the sphere of the subjective. Although distinct, they are essentially related to each other. That is the way in which generality and particularity lose their abstract character and become concrete. The different spheres of life in which social morality expresses itself. When we speak of this moral substance, we will have to analyze the different forms in which it becomes concrete. These particular spheres of life are the different ways in which the general and the individual relate to each other. We can speak of spheres of life in which social morality becomes concrete: family, society, state. Morality is different when we talk about family life, the economy or politics. We saw earlier that the understanding of the will includes the moments of universality, particularity and singularity. Thus in the family we find the universality of freedom as reflected in abstract right, the family as owner, and the particularity of freedom, the family as producing individuals, as reflected in morality. Universality dominates here, but now as a subordinate moment of the higher unity of the universal and the particular. We shall see in civil society that particularity dominates, but again as a subordinate moment of the unity of universality and particularity. And finally we find in the state the unity of the universal and the particular expressed, in a concrete way, in the element of the singularity. According to Hegel, this is symbolically present in the king, as the individual in whose self-consciousness, universality and particularity are reconciled, the opposite therefore of l'état c'est moi, where the singularity of the king dominates the universal, and in concrete terms ultimately in the political process.
So what we need to do now is to take a look at the paragraphs in Hegel's Encyclopedia of Philosophy to see how all of this actually works out. So how does it work? How does he explain it? Let's take a look then at paragraph 514. So we find die freie sich wissende Substanz, in welche das absolute Sollen ebenso sehr Sein ist, hat als Geist eines Volkes Wirklichkeit. So the substance of social morality, an objective reality in which human individuals live and think and lead their lives and act according with rules and institutions and norms and values. That is something that is free unto itself. It has no natural causes that determine it, and it's a substance, immediate form of being, in which the absolute demand, so the good or what we need to do, das Sollen, is at the same time a reality. It has being. And that's the way we find something like the mentality, the spirit, the cultural fullness of a people. Only a people can have a community, can have communal life. Die abstrakte Dimension dieses Geistes ist die Vereinzelung in Personen. So, abstractly speaking, this spirit, this communal mind is broken into, fractured into the singularity of persons, and this spirit of a people has an inner, is the inner power and necessity of the independence, the relative independence of persons. So we derive our independence, we derive our authenticity from the fact that we belong to a people. That is not something that is accidental and unimportant to us, but to belong to a people is exactly the way that we achieve something like a personal character. Die Person aber weiß als denkende Intelligenz. So the person is a thinking intelligence. It knows this substance, this Geist eines Volkes, to be its own being. And because it's directed toward this spirit of a people, because it accepts and affirms belonging to this people, the fact that it belongs to that people is no longer a reason to say that it is accidental. So the person is not just an external determination of the people that he belongs to, schaut sie als ihren absoluten Endzweck in der Wirklichkeit sowohl als Erreichtes diesseits an, als sie denn selber durch ihre Tätigkeit hervorbringt. So it understands that what the people is, to which it belongs, is exactly also what it produces. So we subjects of, let's say, the Dutch people, we create Dutchness, we create whatever Dutch people is as a reality. Aber als etwas, das vielmehr schlechthin ist. So it's simply there. It has an immediacy of being. That's the way that we produce it. So vollbringt sie ohne die wählende Reflexion ihre Pflicht als das Ihrige und das Seiendes und hat in dieser Notwendigkeit sich selbst und ihre wirkliche Freiheit. Ohne die wählende Reflexion. So it's a given that we belong to this people, that we belong to this spirit, this mentality is something that is given for us. Now we talked about this dialectical unity, this dialectical relationship between the substance on the one hand and the individual on the other hand. So this substance is the absolute unity of particularity, or rather here singularity, and the universal of freedom. So this is what we have also emphasized in the general introduction. So the reality and the activity of each individual is to be for itself and to take care of itself, but that has a condition in the whole to which we belong. So it's on the one hand our individuality, our singularity is dependent upon this whole to which we belong. Aber die Gesinnung der Individuen ist das Wissen der Substanz und der Identität aller ihrer Interesse mit dem Ganzen. So at the same time it's the inner mentality, our inner awareness in which this substance knows itself. It's dependent upon us to ground it and to give it reality. Und dass die anderen Einzelnen gegenseitig sich nicht nur in dieser Identität wissen und wirklich sind, ist das Vertrauen. So basically, to belong to a people means to have some kind of trust, to have some kind of faith in people of the same people that we, the same larger whole that we encounter. And that is the true socially moral inner awareness, die wahrhafte sittliche Gesinnung. So there we have Hegel's way of expressing this dialectical relationship. The whole only knows itself, is only self-aware within the individual. The whole of a society is not a person that has self-consciousness, but it has its self-consciousness within individuals that universally experience the same, that they belong to a whole that is the condition of their singularity, and at the same time they experience their singularity as something that produces this whole. Therefore, we speak about a dialectic relationship. The individual only exists within the whole, but the whole only exists within individuals. So, paragraph 516, the relationship, let's first read the German, die Beziehungen des Einzelnen in den Verhältnissen, zu denen sich die Substanz besondert, machen seine sittliche Pflichten aus. So, we have particular relationships in which we stand as singular subjects, and those are the various forms in which the universal substance has its particular ways of being. We have many sittlichen Pflichten, so duties, to the family, to civil society, to the state. That is part of the way our freedom operates, the way our freedom can be real. Die sittliche Persönlichkeit, das ist die Subjektivität, die von dem substanziellen Leben durchdrungen ist, ist Tugend. So virtue is the socially moral personality that is fully aware of the substance to which it belongs, and that is the condition of its own being, and that is what we in general call virtue. In Beziehung auf äußerliche Unmittelbarkeit, auf ein Schicksal, ist die Tugend ein Verhalten zum Sein als nicht negativen und dadurch ruhiges Beruhen in sich selbst. So, in as much as we have a relationship also to a necessity outside of us, something that determines us like a fate, then virtue is like the acceptance of fate and reality as it occurs, the facticity of what occurs, and in that manner it simply rests within itself. In Beziehung auf die substanzielle Objektivität, das Ganze der sittlichen Wirklichkeit, ist sie als Vertrauen, absichtliches Wirken für dieselbe und Fähigkeit für sie, sich aufzuopfern. So, we have this external immediacy on the one hand, and we have this substantial objectivity on the other hand, the whole of this socially moral reality in which I stand. Now, I trust others of the same community, and I also have the ability to sacrifice myself for its further existence. In Beziehung auf die Zufälligkeit der Verhältnisse mit anderen, zuerst Gerechtigkeit und dann wohlwollende Neigung. So, in our relationship with others, we first demand justice, we are focused on justice, but also we have a sphere of compassion, wohlwollende Neigung, compassion. In welche Sphäre wir im Verhalten zu ihrem eigenen Dasein und Leiblichkeit die Individualität, ihren besonderen Charakter, Temperament und so fort als Tugenden ausdrückt. So the term virtues in the plural is an expression of all these various ways in which a subject is connected to the whole, connected to other singular persons within the whole. So, we come to paragraph 517. The socially moral substance is, first of all, unmittelbarer oder natürlicher Geist. Natürlich doesn't mean biological. It's Geist, it's spirit still, but it's spirit determined by our natural ways of living and natural conditions of life. Die Familie. The family. Then we get to the civil society, die relative Totalität der relativen Beziehungen der Individuen als selbstständige Personen aufeinander in einer formellen Allgemeinheit. So that's the ordering of our civil society, in which we are independent from each other on the one hand, and on the other hand we have this mass of relationships and interactions that have, well, has the character of a totality. So here the particularity is dominant. Here in the immediate spirit the universality is dominant. But then we are also aware of the fact that we belong to a state. So die selbstbewusste Substanz als deel zu einer organischen Wirklichkeit entwickelte Geist, die Staatsverfassung, so the organization of the state and my belonging to the state, that's the very important third sphere, and we can say this is the sphere of politics, this is the sphere of economy, and this is the sphere of love, of family life. So that is my explanation, very brief explanation of these paragraphs that are introductory to our next topic, which will be what Hegel says about the family.